Hi, it's Saturday. It's raining. I'm in the middle of Seattle and I'm losing daylight, so I'm going to talk fast. But today I want to talk about cancer. So, hi John. Yeah. So when I was 18, I had my son. And actually, I think I was 17 when I had him. But I went into the follow-up appointments and all that stuff. And they said that they found precancerous cells on my cervix. And so they wanted me to, come back and do some more testing and all this other stuff. Well, I freaked out because I was 18. And I didn't do anything about it. And I just couldn't, I don't know what my problem was, but I just checked out. So, I went and a whole year went by. And, I went in for a checkup and those precancerous cells had really grown from something that was mostly nothing to a moderate to severe situation. So, it still wasn't full-blown cancer or cervical cancer, but it was still in the precancerous stages, and given another 6 months, it definitely would have been cancer. So, I ended up having a procedure that removed 3/4 of my cervix, and did a bunch of testing over the years, and everything was fine. So, continuing to grow with life, and things are happening, and there's all these things changing. And for those who have known me for a long time, I couldn't gain weight if I tried. I could eat anything and everything that I wanted to eat, and it was all good, right? And so in 2006, I got pregnant. I was pregnant with Danica. I had her in February, and she was my third kid, so I don't do the whole pregnancy makes me fat thing, because I'm not down with that. So, because that didn't happen for me, so, I'm not saying it doesn't happen for other people, but it didn't happen for me, and so that's not my excuse. So, I had her, and went right back into my clothes. It's true. But, I went back into my old clothes, wearing the same old stuff, same old everything. Wore my jeans the entire pregnancy. I just let them loose a little bit. I never really did the whole maternity thing, the way that other people did. I just didn't have to. My body didn't grow like that. So I didn't gain weight. I was in my 30s when I had Danica, and so the doctors just assumed after I had her, I started packing on weight really quickly. And I went from I think when I went into the hospital to have her, I was 160 or something like that, which was my heavy. And then I had her, so I should have lost weight, right? And I went in for the 6-week checkup, and I was 202. And they were like, "What are you eating?" And I was like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I just remember being so confused. So I joined a gym, I'm working out, I'm doing all this extra stuff, all this, we're going to work out all the time situation. I've got a newborn baby, I'm working out, I'm working a full-time job, running my business, single mom, running around like a crazy person, and I'm gaining weight, like crazy. And at first they thought, oh, well, she's postpartum. So there was a bunch of stuff going on. So I did struggle with postpartum, not pregnancy. And things were just different. Couldn't really explain what was going on with me, but it was a really stressful situation. I was irritated all the time, and I was putting on weight faster than I could desire to, and I wasn't eating. That's the thing. Like I guess if I was eating like that, I could understand it, but I wasn't eating like that. So I was super frustrated that I was gaining weight. So I go back to the doctor and they would look at me like I was like legit crazy. Like you've got to be like gorging food in the middle of the night or something, or binging, or, you know, maybe you're not being honest with us about what you're eating. And I was like, why would I lie to like hurt myself? Why would I put myself in that position to lie about, I'm trying to get answers here so I can get healthy, so I can figure out what's wrong, because something's clearly wrong. Nope, they told me I was crazy. It was like all mental, must be something going on in my head, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I rolled my eyes. I was irritated. So that was pretty much my story from 2006 until a few years ago. I went through phases where I would, you know, gain weight fast, and phases where I would lose a little bit and gain a little bit. I went through phases where I worked out like crazy. I'd go through phases where I just didn't care anymore, ate whatever I wanted. I went through phases where, you know, I beat myself up constantly because I was still gaining weight, and I literally feel like a fat girl, or let me say it this way. I feel like a skinny girl trapped in a fat girl's body. Remember that show? What was that? Something about a girl named the Diva, some kind of diva show. Diva. I don't remember. Anyways, the girl's name is Jane, and she like came back, like she was reincarnated or something as a skinny girl. She was a skinny girl and came back as a fat girl. So she was like the skinny girl stuck in a fat girl's body. So I understood that. Like I totally, I wasn't reincarnated or anything, but I totally understood what it felt like to be a skinny girl stuck in a fat girl's body, because I know how it feels to be skinny. I know how it feels to be, I was skinny for most of my life. I mean, until I was in my 30s. So, I mean, I know what it's like to like look at girls and be like, yeah, when I see a fat girl eating a cheeseburger, I used to talk stuff. I'm not going to lie. I would be like, maybe you should put the cheeseburger down, you know? And I'm a Californian, so that doesn't make it any easier, because, you know, we drink like green shakes and call it good. I don't know. So I'm not making excuses, but I definitely was, in my mind, not a nice person to people who were seriously obese. I mean, I remember thinking about people not wanting to walk into the store, because I'm like, why do they have to ride in a shop, like in a shopping cart, like little buggy thing? Why can't they just walk? You know, maybe if you walked, then it would, you know, help you lose some of the weight. Or I don't know. I mean, I would judge people walking around the grocery store and like look in their cart when I'm walking by them and be like, you know, maybe you could take them Twinkies out and you would feel a little bit better. I get it. Okay. So here I am now, over 250 pounds, and like, doctor, something's going on with me, and you're not, like, I'm working out and I'm doing stuff all the time, and I'm still gaining. And the more I gain, the harder it is to work out. Like, it physically takes that much more energy to do the things that I used to do before. Tying my shoes becomes a problem. It becomes something that I have to think about how I'm going to do instead of just bending over and tying my shoes. So yeah, it's not a comfortable situation to be overweight, like, by any means. And so I've been struggling with this, and I'm talking to these doctors about all these things, like, you know, something's wrong. Something's so wrong. And I was like, you know, I just kept going back and getting more testing and more testing. And I'm telling you, it was like 10 years. And the doctors ignored me for 10 years. And I kept saying, are you sure it's not my thyroid? Nope, all your labs are normal. Your labs are normal. Your labs are normal. I'm like, is it possible that maybe it was hypo and now it's hyper? Or maybe it was hypo and now it's normal? They're like, nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. And they just kept dismissing everything that I would say. So I finally convinced, I went to see a naturopath. And the naturopath said, yeah, you got a lot of inflammation going on in your body, and your thyroid globulin levels are like through the roof, and I want to test that again. And this was like 2 weeks after he tested again, and the numbers had like almost doubled. And he was like, it was 200, now it's 400, and you know, that number shouldn't be like that unless there's cancer present. And I'm not saying there's cancer, but I'm just saying, you know, it's just not something that that comes out. I know, Crystal, this hurts, but I have to say it because I know there's other people that struggle with it. So, and I love you too, girl. Anyways, so the testing came back and it was doubled, and I went and I was like, I know that I have cancer. Like, I just know it. And the doctors didn't believe me. They didn't want to listen. So I went back to my original primary care doctor, and I'm like, can you look at these labs? Can you test it again? Can you figure it out? He tested it, and that thyroid globulin level was over 800. And he was like, that's not normal. Like, that number shouldn't even be on a test. Like, it shouldn't even be high. And I was like, can you figure out what it is then? Why it's so high? Because, like, I want to know. He said, well, the only thing I can do is, like, do a ultrasound, but I don't want to schedule an ultrasound for no reason. And I'm like, oh, the test results aren't a reason to look at it up close, like more up close and personal? He's like, well, I mean, I guess if it would make you feel better, I'll do it. And I was like, yep, it would make me feel better, so let's do that. So he went through and they did the ultrasound, and it showed like lumps and bumps all over my thyroid. My thyroid is like right here. The whole entire thing was just covered in like bumps, like the worst acne situation one ever saw. Okay. And it was just gross. And I could see the bumps myself. I was like, oh, are those goiters? Are those bumps all over the thing? He's like, oh, well, I'm not really at liberty to say. And I was like, yeah, well, it looks like that to me. And he's like, well, I don't know. And I mean, I'm not a doctor or anything, but So they ended up coming back and said, yeah, you're right. It's definitely covered in goiters, and we're going to have to look at that and get you, in with a different doctor, an ENT. You need to see ear, nose, and throat, and blah, 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 blah. So I go forward. Another year and a half goes by, okay? And I'm on top of this doctor constantly, like, are you sure it doesn't need to come out? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And he's like, no, I just don't think so. I forced him to do a biopsy. The biopsy comes out clear, no cancer. And I was like, I don't buy it. Those test results were like really high. I was getting, about a year after the biopsy, I started feeling bad, like physically tired beyond belief. And I don't know how to express the kind of tired that I felt, but I was tired. My tired was tired, okay? And I'm a pretty active person, a pretty, up and go get kind of person. So when I was tired, like really tired. So I made him check again. And he said, well, we're going to watch it. We'll come back in 6 months and we'll look at it again. And I had enough. At that point, I was like, okay. All right. So a few weeks go by. I called him back. And I said, I was eating a taco and the hard shell was like stuck in my throat for like 3 days. Can I come back and see you again? And he said, yeah. So I went back and I said, swallowing is getting hard. It's getting harder and harder to swallow. So let's give myself some light. But I went on and I'm getting more and more pain when I'm trying to swallow. So can we do something about that? And he comes back and says, if you're having problems swallowing, let me look at some things. So he put a throat, and he said that he could see the lumps inside the scope, like he could see it, and they're pushing like into my airway. And so he said, we could take out the left side, but I think we should just stick with just the left side. The left side's it was the worst of the two sides, and so he wanted to just take out the left. And I told him, you know what, no, if you take out half, you're taking out it all, because I'm not going to have this surgery twice. We're just going to do it one time and call it a day. And he said, you want the whole thing removed? And I said, yeah, I do. And he said, okay. So we scheduled the surgery for 3 weeks later. He goes in and takes it out. I come out of surgery. He puts me on a medication, sends me home. And a week later, he comes back, he calls me, and he says, yeah, I'm not going through it right now. I was. But he comes back and he says, it was cancer, and no biopsy ever would have caught it, because the biopsy only touches the front of the thyroid, and it was on the back side of the thyroid. The other problem was it was in the middle of the thyroid, where the cancer was located. So if he would have cut it down the middle to take out the left lobe, he would have exposed the cancer to air, and it could have gone rampant in my body. And typically, when cancer is exposed to the thyroid, it settles in the next closest organ, which is the breast. And it goes, or I know breasts aren't an organ, but the next closest location, and that typically goes down into the breast. So I was like, you guys, I totally dodged a bullet, because he didn't cut it at all. He just removed the whole thing. He never cut it open. I totally dodged a bullet there. The problem after that, though, was he put me on a medication that I was allergic to it. I wasn't allowed, it didn't work with me. It caused my legs to swell. And I remember the pain that I had in my legs the year following was the worst pain than anything I ever experienced during. For those that were around me at that time, they saw me continue to push. They saw me to continue to walk through it. A lot of people didn't know what was going on with me. But I would get home. I would go out for 3-4 hours at a time and come home and cry a lot, because I was in so much pain physically. Walking was difficult. Doing anything, getting up, standing up, sitting down, painful. And I was so sick. My thyroid levels were horrible. It put me from 200. I started this whole thing, I was like 215 pounds. After the surgery, within like 2 weeks of the surgery, I was up to 300 pounds, 290 pounds. And that number scared the daylights out of me. Oh, it scared me. And I remember thinking, what are you trying to kill me? I mean, like I need somebody to hear me. Like, I'm in pain. And the doctors were telling me I was fine. And I saw doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor. They didn't want to hear anything I had to say. Got some weird person walking up to my car. No, sorry. I might have to drive away, because he's just standing here looking at me. I'm talking. So I think he wants me to give him money, but that's not going to happen, because, yeah, no. That's so creepy. It's dark outside, and he's just standing here looking at me. Anyways, he walked away. I don't know exactly what he's looking for, but no. Anyways, I'm safe. We're good. So fast forward, I'm glad I locked my doors, you guys. Like, that would have caught me off guard. After connecting with, I went back to the naturopath, and I said, can you recommend any doctors to me that can possibly help me? Because I need somebody to hear me, that hears me loud and clear. And they weren't really giving me, he just kept saying, there were different people that we could see and maybe talk to, and this guy's trying to break in somebody's car. He just walked right up to another vehicle. I'm telling you, I'm in Seattle, and these people are crazy. No, anyways, he's not breaking in there. He's not. But he's just standing, like, he walks up to a window and just stands there and looks at you. Kind of creepy. So the things I get to live and experience, it's just funny. I ended up talking to one of my girlfriends, and she has a smaller thyroid problem. Well, kind of. She has an autoimmune disorder, but she recommended that I see her doctor and see what he says. And I did talk to him, and he changed my life, because he gave me a medication that worked for me and got me back on my feet again, where I wasn't like filled with all the fillers and all the things that were making me sick. He helped me, get up and get moving, and got it. I remember a few months after, somebody said to me, like, one day, and this is the truth, this is how much pain I was in. She said, Teresa, maybe if you just start walking to your mailbox, you can walk down to the mailbox and get your mail and walk back, because there was a little bit of a hill to go down on the mailbox and back up. And I looked at her in tears were in my eyes, and I said, I can't walk to the mailbox. And she said, why? And I was crying. I said, because I remember feeling like I was so unstable and my legs were hurt so bad that if I walked to the mailbox, what if I fell? What if I tripped? What if I got down there and couldn't get back up? What if, I don't even know. It's so embarrassing to even say that and to share that, but that's the truth. The thoughts that went through my mind were like, I can't do that. Just can't. There's no way I can do that. And it took some time for me to realize, you've got to get outside. You've got to get moving, even if it's just a few steps. And another friend of mine suggested, okay, so maybe you can't go check the mail, but you can drive your car down to like a flat land, like in front of maybe grocery store, and walk back and forth in front of it, or, like a shopping mall, and like walk back and forth between the stores. That way, if you did fall, there's people there and you're on flat land, because my legs were so unstable, you guys. I felt like I was going to fall at any given... you could have touched me and I would have fallen over. So, anyways, I definitely pushed through that and dodged some bullets, like big time. And I will be honest, there were several people that I knew at that time who were diagnosed with different forms of cancer. I had a friend who was diagnosed with lung cancer and didn't make it. I had a friend who was diagnosed with breast cancer and ended up having a full mass. Actually, two friends who were diagnosed in that year. Two. And just a few other forms of cancer, people that I knew. And I remember how guilty I felt. I felt like almost like a survivor's guilt. Like, why was mine so easy, or relatively easy, and the fight that they had was different? That didn't feel fair. It didn't feel right. The other thing was that on the outside looking in, I looked relatively okay on most days, and most people didn't know what I was fighting through. The other thing is that really, really, really is annoying, and people like have to get this out of their mouth, but when people say, oh, you have thyroid cancer, oh, that's the best kind of cancer to have. No cancer is a good cancer. There is no kind of cancer. Yes, it is a easier treated cancer, but it doesn't make it good. It still comes back. It still has once cancer's in your body, you can get it anywhere. It can go anywhere. It's not like it's gone. It's not like you don't. I walk into the doctor's office and it says cancer at the top of my chart, cancer victim, like cancer patient, every time. You don't get away from that just because you're not currently sick. Every time your levels are elevated. Oh, hey, we got to check and make sure it's not cancer. Oh, we need to do a CT scan. Oh, we need to do this kind of scan. Every time. Every single time. Every time you walk into the doctor, everything's elevated because they know that you've had cancer before, and they have to assume that you're going to get it again in some way, shape, or form. And so, no cancer is good cancer. None. Once cancer's in your body, you have that much more chance to get it again. I don't know. But the survivor's guilt was something that I definitely struggled with. I remember going up to somebody I know that had survived breast cancer and was like a couple years past it. And she's like, how are you feeling? Are you feeling good? And I said, my fight has been hell. And I can't even imagine the fight that you had. And I just broke down and started crying all over her because she said, no. Like, you don't get to. And I said, you don't understand. Like, I feel so guilty that I didn't have to fight as hard as you did. And she says, how are you going to, maybe we fought the same, but hers was much longer and much more tedious and much more disfiguring to her body than mine was. I just have this, nifty little scar across my neck, which is nothing compared to the scars that other people carry from cancer. But at the same time, none of it feels good, you know? Anyways, I personally was able to catch my cancers early, and I highly recommend to any and everybody to get in tune with your body as a unit and know how you feel. If you know you're feeling off, like even one of my girlfriends, she had she like thinks she tripped. I won't say her name, she knows who she is, but she tripped and hurt her ankle. And I mean, even I told her, like, it's not broken, there's no way it's broken, you probably just rolled it, you know, no big deal. And she was like legit walking around on a broken foot. I mean, she knew it wasn't feeling right. I mean, I know I've rolled my ankle before and it felt really crappy too, but you know, for a long time, like, rolled ankles just don't heal right. But she said, no, you know, it just doesn't feel right. And I mean, it ended up being broken. You have to listen to your own body. You have to know who you are and what you've got going on in you, and fight for your own stuff. Be your own advocate. Don't take no for an answer. And that is the truth. So I'm like so amazingly crazy thankful that God like pulled me out of that, and that he gave me the insight, and that, you know, I am in tune with my body as a whole, as big and beautiful as it is at this time. I don't hate myself because I'm fat, but I do not want it on my body anymore. So yeah. And after your thyroid is out, it's so much harder to lose weight. But that's okay. Teresa 3.0 is coming soon, and you guys are gonna like be like, I remember when she shared, because I'm gonna get this weight off my body come hell or high water. And the more time passes between me and the cancer removal, the better I feel. So the more better I feel, watch out. I don't think y'all can handle a skinny me again. I'm kidding. I love you guys. I will see you tomorrow, and hopefully earlier. It's like raining here, and I'm headed home. I just wanted to do this before I got home, so I could, you know, enjoy the night. But have a good one. I'll see you later, friends.